Okay, this is all about printmaking.
We don't know what episode something other.
8 or 9, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But all about printmaking with Phil and Amy, and we have a guest here with us today.
That's right.
We're going to hear from him in just a minute, but we want to welcome everyone here at the holiday season, and Patrick is here with us, and we're going to let him talk a little bit. Patrick has done some printmaking, but he's actually a painter.
Oh.
So
sounds like he's going to entertain us.
well, he is quite entertaining most of the time. Hopefully he will be here for the next few minutes that we record our podcast.
He's shaking his head yes, I can see it.
Well, Patrick, we know you're a painter and have done some printmaking, but what other interests do you have? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
And then about the only other interest I have is like cars. So I have my heap in the garage, but I can't even get out there and I don't have the motivation to even cut new brake lines and run new brake lines for it. So it's what the hell am I going to do out there?
Well, what got you way back in the day when Greg and Debbie were still living in Evergreen and you were in high school? What got you interested in going down the art road to the extent that you have?
I never even really thought too much about it until I got into high school, and then I kind of came across, and your sister-in-law, I guess pushed me, or encouraged me to have some confidence in what I was doing, and
Debbie's
so
like that.
Mm-hmm.
She helped me kind of get into college, and and then I don't know, I just kind of I didn't really think much about the future. I just kind of went with it,
Right.
And and so I went through college, and then realized that I wouldn't be able to get by, with a 1.5 GPA, and I had to really work at it. And so I started putting in effort and everything, and then enjoyed it, made friends, and got gallery representation. Never sold anything, but just kind of got into the community and really started learning and doing new things, and then rocked on. And then the opportunity, I met professors, and they encouraged me to go to grad school, and I never did really think about grad school until later. And
you're talking about professor. What school were you at?
So yeah, so I got my bachelor's degree at University of South Alabama
Over here in Mobile.
Mm-hmm. And
was that because of the convenience, proximity of it, more or less? Or?
Well, my parents, they didn't really know anything about colleges, and I guess they didn't know how to direct me, and so your sister-in-law kind of did all that.
Yeah.
We went to different colleges in the area, and for some reason, I ended up going to University of Mobile. I started out there, but the only reason why I did that is because they gave me a scholarship, an art scholarship, and I didn't really
Makes a difference.
I didn't really do the numbers. It's like a private school,
right?
And so the tuition, all that stuff was a lot higher than say South or other places like that. It's like state schools. But all I kind of just registered was art scholarship. Well, the art scholarship was I don't know, $250 or something like that. And so
That's funny.
and so I just kind of went there, and I didn't really think about it too much. And so I was there for a few years and didn't really fit into the culture there, because I'm not some sort of die-hard religious nut, or anything like that, and and so eventually, I just left because I didn't want to take all the religion classes and go
With
to
the
church
Mobile
for
College.
credit. Yeah. And and so, and I don't think they really like me anyway, you know. I don't think they, you know, it's like, even though my subscription to like Playboy and Penthouse was like covered, I would always see like the covers or the bags would be ripped open, you know, stuff like that. But anyway, so I ended up transferring to University of South Alabama and finished out my degree there, and so that's where I really flourished there.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, you know, I don't know, maybe I was like a senior or something before I started really thinking about grad school. And so
did South Alabama, did they have a printmaking department?
They did, yeah, they did.
Did you do some of that there?
I actually, my secondary or my minor major, I had painting was my major, and then my secondary was printmaking.
Oh, okay.
Good.
And I haven't done anything with it since.
Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted to talk to you, aside from us knowing each other, and I know you're an artist struggling in South Alabama like I am, but I wanted to tap your brain about how the painting inclination lent itself to also doing printmaking. Was it? Did you ever do anything like where you tried to incorporate printmaking with your painting, or painting with printmaking, or anything like that?
You know, probably not consciously.
Yeah. I
did, but I didn't really think about it. You know, I look at your paintings here, and kind of the paint is like, it's not heavy. It's like very thinly applied,
right?
And it almost kind of could be like
a print.
Yeah, like a print. And so, you know, my work, whenever I started to get into more of the materials and like the paint, you know, because when I first started painting, it was just like raw emotion, like it was just like color, and you know, I didn't really think about, you know, a lot of what I was doing. And so over time, I just started reading a little bit more about, you know, the chemistry of it, and and the materials and how they work together, and started experimenting. And so my paints became thinner and more similar to what you have here, you know, very very, you know,
controlled and flat.
Yes, very controlled and flat. Although I always liked color, and I like depth, the illusion of depth in the surface. So there's a lot of different values, but as far as like the texture, it would be like you could see the texture of the canvas.
You know what appeals to me in painting is I had a friend, I only knew him online mostly, from the motorcycle community. He lived up in the Northwest area somewhere, Washington, Oregon. But he was a painter, and he became quite well known. I've seen his work since then in, you know, high places. But he started out doing these paintings, and then he would post them on the motorcycle site. Here's one I did, and here's a little, and it has the look of paint that's just smeared until you like back off a little bit, and it becomes a piece of cake, or it becomes a slice of steak. You know, he had this technique of just like, it looked like it was just slapped on there and slid and mashed and stuff. But if you look at it, he was controlling that. Because he was making it look like a representation of something.
Yeah.
And he had a series on meats, slices of meat, and desserts, and kind of food oriented.
Kind of like Wayne Thiebaud. I'm getting kind of like the Wayne Thiebaud vibes here.
But that appeals to me, that ability to have that spontaneous look, and the impasto kind of smearing of the and you get the tactile feeling of, you know, it's like you can feel, you know, it's not wet, but it looks wet and sticky, but it still looks like, I mean, it still looks like stuff.
So you probably added like Damar or something in with the paint.
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
That would give like that really like shiny.
I see other artists on internet places, like landscapes, that are kind of done the same way. The paint is just like, it's just like thrown on there, but you look at it and it's a very complicated landscape, street scene or something.
Complicated? You mean like what? Like like photorealism?
No, it just looks complicated with the paint. The paint looks like it's just smeared and thrown on there.
Okay.
Until you study it a little bit more, and it becomes like, I guess, looking at the clouds, it becomes something. It looks.
Okay, I see. So it doesn't, like, initially it doesn't necessarily look like a
definition,
a landscape, but then if you kind of
look at
mentally put it together,
or it does look like a landscape, and then you look closer at it. The closer you get to it, you can't get close because it looks like smears.
Okay.
Yeah. Sort of an impressionist.
Right, right. I don't know why, but like, this topic here kind of makes me think of Robert De Niro Sr. landscapes, because his, like, they were hard for me. They just look like almost like splotches. Mm-hmm. Whenever I initially look at them, and I had to get someone to kind of help me understand them as landscapes, because initially I wasn't able to really see them quite like that. But then after I realized that conception, or what he was doing in his work, then I've not been able to unsee landscape since then.
Well,
so it's pretty interesting.
On a couple of my podcasts, I've talked about the professor I had at University of Florida, Kenneth Kerslake, and I didn't realize it until I started looking at his biography online that he went to the same school you did.
Pratt?
He went to Pratt.
Oh, yeah.
And Pratt apparently has a big printmaking department.
I didn't really sniff it too much when I was up there. I was studio, like, painting and drawing, but they have like a big, they had a big everything when I was up there, but now it's even bigger because they used my loan money to build the school system.
Yeah. Of course.
Well, that $100,000 that I owe still.
Well, I bought this. It wasn't a textbook. It was like a studio handbook, a big thick one on printmaking, mostly lithography. But it was published. It was from Pratt.
Yeah.
Everything in it was Pratt.
It was. I tell you, that was a great.
Well,
school.
what you said you had some encouragement to go to graduate school. That's where you went for graduate school.
Yes. So I had this guy who came around, and he was from the Northeast, and he fancied himself like someone from across the pond, but he wasn't. He was just like from.
Oh, did he have
Rhode
a
Island.
Fake accent?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and he called his apartment a flat, something like that. But anyway, at the time, he was like, I thought he was like, really cool, and so anyway, he was working on his doctorate. Whenever he was teaching at South, he was teaching art history courses and art theory and stuff like that, and introduced me to like a lot of philosophy, and like Adorno and like all these German Marxists and people who really wrote about art, and like Walter Benjamin, people like that, and really got me into the thought. Behind the process of making art and being creative. And anyway, so he encouraged me. He was like, what, just do it, and you won't regret it. I guess because he had, he went to like St. Andrews, like across the pond. So, yeah. And so I started looking into it, and just from things that I had learned in college and about art and the history of art, I knew that I wanted to go to New York. I wanted to be in New York because that's where everything really got going after World War II. Like all the a lot of European artists, they moved to New York, and they started doing their thing, and it had been that way, since the end of World War II, and so
that's where that whole abstract expressionism thrust came from across the Europe.
And so for me, that was like the epicenter. I think it was like, and then other people said, well, London too, but I'm not really sure. But anyway, I applied to like a lot of schools in the Northeast, and from Maryland to Maine, and then I think I applied even to the London College of Art. I think I didn't apply to. Let's see, I can't remember if it was Harvard or Yale, but I wanted to apply to those schools, but I didn't because the freaking application fee was like $75, and I'm not gonna pay that. But anyway, so the others ranged less than that, maybe like 35 to 45 or whatever, and I can't remember what the application fee for Pratt was, but I filled out because I wanted to be in New York. Well, blah blah blah. I do all that, get that together, boom, put it in the mail, and I just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then just did my thing, and then I started getting these letters back. I think like a lot of the places they were saying oh I can't even remember what it's called, but it's like there's a way like when schools want you, but they won't accept you into the master's program, but they want you to take some, I guess, remedial courses.
More courses to prove yourself.
I guess, yeah. And then I finally get this letter back from Pratt in Brooklyn, and it says, "You have been accepted to our Master's in Fine Arts program."
Awesome.
How many planets had to line up, and who ahead of me in line had to die to for me to get this spot. This is where I wanted to be.
One or two.
In New York. Well, it wasn't like SVA or any place because they're in Manhattan, but I mean that's close enough, right? And so all I knew it was New York. And so as soon as I got accepted, I remember I was they invited me up for a visit or something like that. Anyway, or no, I remember what it was. They didn't invite me up. They just said that we accepted you, and you need to fill out paperwork or whatever. And this is before the internet or had really gotten big, and so I was selling cars. I was slinging Hondas down in Mobile at Treadwell Honda. Hated it. I was sucked as a salesperson, and I was looking for any excuse to get away. And so I go to my sales manager and I'm like, I need to take a week off. And I can't remember if I had if there had just been a holiday or something, or I had already just taken time off for something. I can't remember. But anyway, he was like, didn't you already do so and so, and now you wanting a week off? Blah, blah. I don't know about that. And then I just shoved this letter in his face, and he read this. He read this letter, and he was like, "Oh, I guess you better check that out then." Okay. And so he gave me a week off, and I had just I think 2 weeks prior, someone came in. I had a couple came in, and they were trading in their Infinities. They wanted to get new Hondas, but 2 of them, and they found out that I was an artist, and they bought 2 Hondas from me, and wow. I got a pretty good commission from that. And they also bought a painting from me. So not only did I have commission money, I had about $1,000 from this painting. and I'm that's what I used to go up there. Yeah. And I had some friends that I knew up there through this guy that I was the teacher at South, and so I went and stayed with them in Brooklyn, paid for my ticket. This was pre 9/11, so I'm taking big bags and everything up there. And man, as soon as I got into Brooklyn, I remember I took a cab or what did I do? I can't remember if I took a cab or took a train. But anyway, as soon as I stepped out on the 7th Avenue in Brooklyn, around 14th Street, 7th Avenue, and just the sounds and the smells, I was in love. I loved it.
Wow.
And so I spent that week, went to the school. I went to Pratt, just had a ball, and that was it. I was I couldn't do anything else after that.
Yeah. Well, how did you do any printmaking there? Or was that mostly the painting?
Yeah. I don't remember. I think all the printmaking, I'm pretty sure all the printmaking I did at South, and I remember I used to drive my teacher crazy. My printmaking teacher, I just drove her nuts because she was this I don't want to say she was elderly, but she certainly wasn't young. I don't know how old she was, but she was like this older, more mature Japanese lady, really tiny. And she had a really heavy accent too. And she was all business. And, you know, she had this really, from what I understand, she had made this career. She would make these huge prints and sell these huge prints of these like of kimonos, like these real like flattened out kimonos with all these designs on them and everything. Wow. And my understanding, if I remember correctly, I can't remember if she like left Japan before the bombs were dropped or maybe just after. I can't remember where exactly she was from, but anyway, I remember her telling me that her parents wanted her to become a florist or something, or like a flower designer or arranger or something like that. And she was just like, she tried it and she hated it. And so I think she just kind of like took off, or maybe she like met some like American guy over there. And then they just like, she came to the United States. She kind of just said like, and then I came to the United States and started doing her art. And she was, I loved her because she would always, she was like, well, what are you doing is not printmaking. This is a monotype. And I'm like, what is a monotype? And she was like, no, you're not doing it right. No, you have to do it this way. And I'm just like having fun here, you know. But you know, she was like really unemotional, kind of like flatlined, you know, kind of like I said, all business. Mm-hmm. And she was always like critical of like the stuff that I did. And then I can't remember exactly what it was, but at one point she was like, she just kind of bit the bullet, and she just kind of like said, "Oh, no, that's okay. What you do, that's okay." You know, great. She kind of helped me kind of understand all the different processes. You know, I did like, of course, screen printing was my secondary, but I did etching and intaglio and I really enjoyed like drawing on the lithography stones and stuff like that. But it was like, you know, I don't know. I think I liked the screen printing best just because it was, the process was I guess quicker and easier. Like
more direct.
More direct, and just, you know, you just slap the screen fill on and then, you know, boom, you put it on the rack, boom, and then you fill another spot.
Well, I've noticed in my time on the planet that observing different types of artists, there are people who are more inclined to doing printmaking, who are, that mentality is just a little bit different than like yours, is spontaneous, direct, emotional, wanting to get the image. That's not conducive to printmaking. Printmaking is very process-oriented and development, stage one, do this, like the little Japanese lady, you know, very structured.
Yep.
And that's part appeals to me. I like the process, and I like to be able to, like, once I get everything done and I pull that first print, it was like, wow, you have no idea what it's going to look like till you pull the first print from your matrix. You know? Mm-hmm. So, but it's a difference in personality, whatever.
Yeah, I never could keep my matrix straight. My registers were always off. And then there was that day where I learned about chloride gas too.
From the intaglio etching? Well,
from the screen print room, because we would clean the screens, the fill from the screens. I think we would use, I think for like the regular fill, we used like Mr. Clean. Mm-hmm. And that had, at the time, it had ammonia in it.
Right.
And then for the photo,
the emulsion, we used, I think, bleach or something. Right.
Clorox bleach.
Right. Clorox bleach.
Wow.
And I remember, like, I was in there and I'm like, I have like this screen fill, and I was just like, you know, it wasn't photo emulsion, it was just regular screen fill. And I had been scrubbing on this thing with like Mr. Cleaner or something, or some sort of ammonia-based cleaner for something, and I just got tired. I'm like, you know what? I bet if I put some bleach on here, it would really go. It would be a lot better. And so I just like go, and then all of a sudden, you know, I was inhaling, and I started feeling like really sick, and I'm like, what the? And I got really lightheaded, and so I don't know, I think I almost passed out. Maybe I did, I don't know, but I went into another part of the I guess the classroom, and I just kind of like sat there and put my head down on a table or something like that, and
suck in some fresh air.
I can't remember who kind of schooled me about that.
Yeah, you don't mix bleach and bleach and
ammonia.
Ammonia. Yeah. Okay. Ammonium chloride. Yeah.
And I tell you, I don't know. Like I had to leave. I had to go home. I was like,
yeah, I wonder you didn't kill yourself on that.
Yeah.
No doubt.
So yeah, the emulsion I used in college was back before they had all the safety stuff, and I used a recipe from a previous master's student who was there, and it included the Knox gelatin and sodium bichromate, sodium bichromate or ammonium bichromate. It was ammonium bichromate. You mix it with gelatin and you put that on your screen. Then you wash it with bleach. So you put it in a bathtub or a bath, and you put that bleach in there with it, and it starts reacting with that ammonium bichromate, and you have to be careful you're not there with it, cleaning it. So when you come in, you should wear a mask and spray it clean and all. But it's the same thing, mixing with that ammonium bichromate. And we didn't know it at the time, but the bichromate is also very causes cancer. So everybody stopped using that for a while. You know.
Well, that makes me think of that wasn't the only dangerous thing I did in college, because I was over there in my painting studio, and I was using flake white. You know, flake white is like white lead, pretty much. And this is whenever I was like learning about all the different paints and the whole chemical aspects of it. And I just remember, I was like doing like I was sitting there, and I would like mix up and put like flake white on the canvas, and I make sure my brushes were like really clean, and make sure my hands were really clean, and I didn't eat while I was in there and stuff like that. So I tried to kind of follow the rules, but it was hard.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah.
Well, now you're back home in South Alabama, or you're actually mostly in Montgomery teaching.
Yeah.
How's that going?
Trying to. I tell you, those kids, they make me earn my money. That's for sure.
Yeah, kidding.
I enjoy my holidays, but it's nice to be able to make some income, and I'm kind of trying to, it's an interesting thing. If you don't have any money, you're like really like, oh, let me see what I can buy. Right. But if you like have money, you don't want to spend it. I remember whenever I was working selling the Hondas down in Mobile, and I remember like one of the first sales I made was like, there was like this couple that came in and they wanted to buy like a new Honda. And they were like doing heavy negotiation. They were paying cash for the car. And they didn't want to spend like a dime for this car.
Okay.
And that's when I kind of first realized that, like, people with money, they don't want to spend money. That's when they have it. But there would be people with no money, and they would have like 560 credit score and stuff like that.
Come in there and finance for 20 years.
They would try to buy like 2 cars and stuff, and they'd try to buy brand new cars, with all the bells and whistles, and like, oh, it looks like, can you like give me a proof for this? Can you give me a proof of this? And it's like, and I'm like, that's kind of where it really like first dawned on me, right? And so, and when I lived in New York, like I had enough money to like pay rent and stuff like that, and like take care of myself, but you don't really, unless you like, you make like well over $100,000, you can't really get along and like save up, and plant roots in New York. And so I never was able to really amass personal wealth up there, but now I can kind of see, I'm making, a couple of extra pennies I can stick back, and I'm like, I'm making this, and I'm like, I don't want to spend anything. It's like I told my mom earlier, it's like I want to get out of the house, I want to go do something, but I don't want to spend any money.
Hey, yeah, it just gets worse the more responsibility, the older you get.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
As always happens with, I'm limited on the amount of time I can put into a podcast, so I'm gonna have to cut it off again here. But there's always like a chance for later on down the road we come back and talk about something specific.
Sure, anytime. Maybe I'll talk more about printmaking. The little bit that I know.
Well, I enjoy talking about anything to do with art, but the printmaking is what the podcast is about. So I try to divert the discussion a little bit in that area. Anyway, well, thanks for coming.
Bye, Patrick.
Thank you. Appreciate the invitation.
Oh,
Patrick's a character, isn't he?
No kidding. He lived in New York for a number of years. Went to art school up there. Yeah. He's from right here in Evergreen.
Yeah.
He was one of Debbie's students in high school.
That's pretty cool.
Well, that's it for All About Printmaking with Phil and Amy for this episode.
All righty.
Don't say it.
Goodbye, everyone. Until next time.
Yeah, we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.